Time now to take a look at what's happening in the local professional theatres in the coming week, and there's plenty to choose from, with all the principal theatres in the area staging productions of one kind or another. I'll start at the Birmingham Rep, where the first of hopefully many shows from their new in-house company begins on Monday. Based on Harper Lee's novel, To Kill a Mockingbird is all about a white woman who grew up in the American Deep South during the racial prejudices, lynchings and Ku Klux Klan activities of the 1930s. It should be a very powerful play heralding a new era at the Rep, and it continues until October the 3rd. For something completely different, why not try Birmingham's Alexandra Theatre? Ex-Blue Peter presenter Peter Duncan and ex-model Gilly Johnson star in Funny Peculiar, which runs all week from Monday to Saturday. It's the story of a married grocer from a small Pennine village and his neighbour, and it's billed as a hilarious side-creasing comedy. I should warn you, however, that when it came to costume budgets, a few cuts had to be made, and the play is definitely not suitable for children. Don't despair, though. You can enjoy a more family evening at the Birmingham Hippodrome, where Victor Spinetti continues as Fagin in Lionel Bart's musical Oliver. Lovable urchins, rogues, and a host of instantly recognisable songs all feature in an appetising menu, and what's more, the show goes on until September the 19th. It's a good week for musicals, in fact. In Wolverhampton, the Grand's autumn season gets underway with the Wolverhampton Youth Theatre's production of West Side Story, something I looked at last week. It's Romeo and Juliet, New York style, as the Sharks and the Jets battle to sing louder and longer than the others, and the show starts on Tuesday and finishes on Saturday. Finally, in a musical vein, Guys and Dolls opens on Tuesday night at Coventry's Belgrade Theatre. Not only does the show open their autumn season, but it also unveils their refurbished auditorium for the first time. New comfortable seats are promised, and on the first 3 nights they're cheaper as well. I suppose they need to be worn in. There are no major concerts again this week, but there is some dance. The Old Rep in Birmingham are hosting the National Festival of Youth Dance. Every night next week, 4 different companies will be in action, culminating in a gala evening on Friday. With a music as diverse as Kraftwerk, Clannad, Miami Vice and 20s Swing, and poems by Larkin and Elliott, it should prove a fascinating evening out.
Chris Humphreys there with our entertainments guide. Well, the Birmingham Hippodrome is opening its doors to the stage-struck, the star-struck, or the just plain curious. In a series of backstage tours, visitors can see dressing rooms, the wardrobe department, the orchestra pit and the scenery fly tower, as well as standing on the stage for an actor's view of the audience. The tours will be conducted by Peter Rowell, and he gave Bridget Sneed a preview, starting on the prompt side of the stage where a rehearsal for the musical Oliver was in full swing.
We're looking out into the stage itself from the wings, and as you can hear in the background, there are various bits and pieces being put together for the show this evening. The prompt is normally located in the orchestra pit, but quite often, again, they'll be in the wings or wherever is a convenient spot.
Now, you've got a sort of console here of bright lights and buttons. What's all that about?
That's the stage manager's desk. He's in close liaison with the flyman who controls the scenery and the people who are also responsible for the lighting and the sound. And via that network of hearing phones, you can see there, he can communicate with them very effectively.
Now, one of the unique things for somebody coming on this tour is they can stand here and they can look out on the audience as an actor would.
That's right, they can stand in exactly the same position as all the famous stars that have been to the Hippodrome over the last 100 or so years have stood. They can look down at the orchestra and look out and see the audience as they would be.
Do you think that's a secret ambition for a lot of theatre goers, to actually be on stage?
Oh, I think so, yes. If you stand out there and you look out, there is a certain feel to it. It grabs your stomach, and you can feel a certain amount of excitement just through looking out, even if there isn't an audience there. The fact you're in a very privileged position looking out.
Now, where would the tour go from here? We've been on the stage, where would we go next?
The tour now goes down into the very depths of the Hippodrome. This is the orchestra pit where we house all the musicians for a performance. And again, as on the stage, one can actually look out from the tour and see what a musician sees during a performance. 2,000 seats above one's head.
We're right at the bottom of the theatre here. The opposite extreme is the fly gallery, which is right at the top.
That's right.
So perhaps we could go up there.
Uh-huh.
Here we are.
Let's get our breath back after climbing all those stairs. This is where we actually fly the scenery. Each one of these ropes is attached to a piece of scenery, and at the appropriate moment it is released and flown down. The flying man then has a television monitor that he can see exactly what the audience is seeing at any one time.
So it's a very complex job in that you've got all these numbered levers on ropes.
Uh-huh.
Each one relates to one bit of scenery, so if it goes wrong, you could actually ruin the scene that you're trying to illustrate.
Yes, it's all obviously very well documented as far as which goes down at any particular moment.
As well as being the place where you can move the scenery, it also gives you a very good bird's eye view from way above the fly gallery into the ceiling where the scenery gets stored, right down onto the stage floor. You can see little partition bits on the stage. What are those for?
Those are dressing rooms that are purpose-built so that if anybody's got a quick change to do, which they have quite frequently in this production of Oliver, then they have the facility to do it quickly at the side of the stage as opposed to journeying back to the dressing rooms, which in the case of the Hippodrome, because it's so large and because the dressing rooms are based on 3 stories, is quite a time-consuming exercise to get back and then back onto the stage.
Every theatre, of course, has its wardrobe room. And here, you not only have a wardrobe room, you have space for visiting companies to bring their own washing machines.
That's right, it all comes self-contained. Invariably, the production company brings a couple of washing machines along with them, in addition to 2 very helpful souls who are poised with a needle and thread, and should any of the scenery accidentally snag a costume on stage, then there's somebody there instantaneously to sew a sequin back on and what have you. They also help in getting costumes on and off in what can be quite a pressurised time from coming off stage to physically turning around and putting on a costume to actually going back on stage again. For instance, when we did the Singing in the Rain sequence at Christmas, we had 8 dressers waiting in the wings, so that when Tommy Steele came off after the rain sequence, they stripped him of all his clothes. There was another one poised with a hairdryer, and they automatically dried his hair, put on a new costume, and within a matter of literally seconds, Tommy Steele was back on stage again, tap dancing away and joining in all the fun.
Bridget Sneed there, rooting around the back of Birmingham Hippodrome. And if you're interested in any of the 8's backstage tours, what to do is to contact the Hippodrome box office for tickets. How full is your diary this week with things to go and see? Well, let's add a few dates to it. Here's Dennis Reid with the usual roundup of what's on the amateur stage. Good morning.
And good morning to you. And I suppose we should really start off this morning with a rousing chorus of California, Here I Come, because the first 2 productions are both set in hotels in the state of California, and both are comedies with a touch of the sweet and the sour sauce about them. The first one opens tonight, and that's the Bernard Slade comedy, Same Time Next Year, which I described in detail last week. It's the story of a couple who meet for an illicit weekend together each year over a 25-year period, and each of the 6 scenes in the play reflects not only how they've changed their attitudes over the years, but also how society has changed. It's a very clever piece of writing and is the opening play of the season for the Dudley Little Theatre. It continues till next Saturday, but not at their usual venue of the Netherton Arts Centre, which is being refurbished, but at Hillcrest School, Sims Lane in Netherton, just up the road. California Hotel number 2 is the scene for Neil Simon's play California Suite, which, like his perhaps better-known comedy Plaza Suite, also shows scenes played by different couples in the same room at different times. And this time there are 4 different stories told in Simon's witty style, but always with tense undertones as usual. All of his characters are people who've made some sort of failure of their lives, but, as one critic so aptly put it, they talk in witty wisecracks, but through clenched teeth. And commencing next Saturday to the 19th at the Barlow Theatre Centre in Langley, this is the opening production of the season from the Albury Repertory Players. And staying in America, but moving to the East Coast and New York, which provides the setting for the next production at Wolverhampton Grand Theatre. And this reopens next Tuesday to Saturday with a musical production by the Wolverhampton Youth Theatre of the modern version of Romeo and Juliet, where the Montagues and Capulets are replaced by the Sharks and the Jets in West Side Story.
You heard a snippet from that last week on the programme.
And well, Romeo and Juliet seems to be about quite a bit this week. There's one of the most interesting programmes in the theatre this coming season has got to be that of the Swan Theatre in Worcester under their artistic director John Ginman. Next Saturday and Sunday, and the following Saturday and Sunday, the Swan Youth Theatre is also presenting a strong piece of theatre with similarities to Romeo and Juliet, and that's Lorca's dramatic Blood Wedding. Another story of a family feud set alight when a girl runs away with her lover on the day she was to be married to somebody else. The Crescent Theatre in Birmingham presents the one full-blooded farce this week, which is the Cooney and Chapman box office success Move Over Mrs. Markham, in which three couples all descend on a Markham's flat for various rude reasons, believing it's empty for the evening. The rest I can perhaps leave to your imagination. Move Over Mrs. M opens tonight for just over a 2-week fun run to the 19th of the month at their theatre just off Broad Street in Birmingham. And another theatre going through a difficult time at the moment, including being flooded by the storm of 2 weeks ago, is Sutton Arts Theatre in Sutton Coldfield.
Yes, they seem to have had a number of unlucky accidents, don't they?
Yes, they're having a damp programme, as somebody once put it. And they're opening their season next Saturday to the 19th with the Roland Pertwee drama Pink String and Sealing Wax. Not often performed nowadays, it's set in the 1880s. It is an atmospheric piece about a Victorian family with a dominant father, subservient mother, and a daughter attempting to break free. A touch of the early women's libs about this one. But you then throw in a murder, and you've got a recipe for quite an interesting evening. Two more modern plays perhaps next, and the first is by the Solihull Society of Arts, who are presenting Charles Dyer's play Rattle of a Simple Man. It's a play with charm about two lonely people. Percy is a 42-year-old man from the north who goes to London to see a football match, but has never even kissed a girl when he winds up in the company of Cyrene, who, as the Victorians would perhaps rather coyly have put it, is a lady of easy virtue. The play is about the relationship that develops between them, told with both humour and emotion. This was Charles Dyer's first successful play, and it can be seen at the Studio Theatre, 50 Lode Lane in Solihull, on Wednesday to Saturday, both this coming week and the week after. And opening on Thursday to Saturday week at the Grange Playhouse in Walsall is Say Goodnight to Grandma, presented by the Grange Players. A young married couple go to visit the husband's domineering mother, and a battle develops between the wife and the possessive mother, in which no holds are barred for control of the unfortunate son and husband. Even the local rugby club is called into the action. A play with perhaps a slightly thin plotline, but one which a good director can turn into an interesting evening. And finally, two unusual items. Tomorrow night at Coxmoor Woods Leisure Centre in Auster Road, King's Heath, there's a premiere of a play called Sebastian. It's the tragic true story of a little Birmingham boy, Sebastian Fitzpatrick, who died last December. Born with a problem heart, he was not expected to live, but after major surgery he survived for 4 years. His story, in a play by Simon Sterling, is to be presented by the LSD Theatre Enterprises Group, based in Alton, as a trial production before possibly touring the play to other venues. And the other play is a very rare opportunity to see a theatrical tour de force. John Aubrey lived from 1626 to 1697, and after his death his memoirs were published under the title Lives. They tell of a life spent in lodgings and other people's houses, and of the famous and not so famous people he knew. Patrick Garland adapted the book into a piece of theatre called Brief Lives, in which one actor, playing Aubrey as an old man, reminisces about his life and times. It's a solo performance making great demands on the actor, who in this case is Keith Railton, who opens with the production tonight until next Saturday at the Criterion Theatre in Coventry, a collector's piece of theatre and perhaps worth the journey. And that's the scene set for the amateur stage this week. Something to suit most tastes, I hope. Enjoy your choice. Bye for now.
Thanks very much, Dennis, for rounding off this week's edition of Entertainment WM. We'll go out on a tune from a musical that's in town at the moment. First of all, my thanks to reporters Chris Humphreys and to Alex Fraser. I'll leave you with thoughts of food.
Is it worth the waiting for? If we live till 84, all we ever get is fruit. Every day we say a prayer. Will they change the bill of fare? Still we get the same old fruit. There's not a crust, not a crumb. Can we find? Can we beg? Can we borrow or cash? But there's nothing to stop us from getting a thrill when we all close our eyes and imagine food, glorious food, hot sausage and mustard, while we're in the mood, cold jelly and custard, peas, pudding and saveloys. What next is the question? Rich gentlemen have his voice in digestion. Food. We're anxious to try it. 3 banquets a day. Our favorite diet. Just picture a great estate. Fried roasted or stewed. Oh, food, wonderful food, marvelous food, glorious food.
On medium wave and VHF, serving the whole of the West Midlands, this is Radio WM News.
10 o'clock, Richard Urich reporting. As the United Nations Secretary-General's Perez de Cuellar prepares to go to Tehran and Baghdad in an attempt to bring about an end to the Gulf War, Iraq has claimed that it's hit another tanker near the Iranian coast. It says